should you work with a broker when it comes time to sell your business? Now, eventually this is going to be a question that you ask along your journey. When you go to sell an online business, you have a choice between either selling through a brokerage or trying to sell privately. So I work for Empire Flippers, which is an online business brokerage and a marketplace that helps sellers sell their online businesses to our marketplace of buyers. So one of the first questions that sellers will ask us when they reach out to us is, understandably, should I be working with Empire Flippers or should I be working with a brokerage in general? Now, it gets a little bit tricky. When you think about selling a car, you understandably think about going through a dealership. When you think about selling your house, you think about selling through a realtor. But when it comes to selling an online business, you're probably aware that you have the option to sell through a brokerage or to sell privately, but you're not sure what the best option is or what actually justifies the commission that a brokerage will charge in helping you to sell your business. So to help you decide, I'm going to just lay out the different paths associated with either going through a brokerage or going through privately so that you can decide what's the best path for you. So to start off with the brokerage, or at least through Empire Flippers, other brokerages do have maybe slightly different processes. They'll reach out to us and they will submit their business to be listed on the marketplace or to see if they qualify. And we will go through a series of checks and just make sure that your business does qualify given the parameters or the requirements of being listed on our marketplace. And again, this is one area where brokerages do differ. Some brokerages don't list certain niches. Some brokerages have a certain requirement of profit before you're able to actually list on the marketplace. Some brokerages have language requirements that your business has to be in. That's the first check that we'll perform. And if you do qualify, then our vetting team will work with you to compile all of your expenses, your income, to ultimately determine your net profit per month. So we'll compile your P&L, your profit and loss statement. We'll compile all of the assets that are associated with your business and come to a calculation of the business valuation. And we're going to suggest this. This is not something that we force upon you. This is a conversation between you and the vetting team. And the vetting team is, of course, interested in selling your business for the highest valuation as well, but they're also trying to find that right balance of what would actually sell right now, given the current market conditions, what buyers are willing to spend on your business at this time. So they will suggest this. And once you come to an agreement on the business valuation, at that point, your business will be listed on the marketplace for sale. Now, at this point, buyers will reach out to us. They will ask us questions about the business. They might want to schedule a call with you to discuss more about your business, or they might buy the business outright. So it's far less common right now for buyers to just buy a business outright. It's very common for them to at least ask some questions or want to discuss some parts of the business or just meet you as the seller. And in that case, or at this stage, you'll be working with our sales advisors. And we have sales advisors that work with our sellers and our buyers. On the sell side, we'll be able to negotiate with you or help you to negotiate a deal. We'll be able to communicate directly to our buyers. And the buy side team, they discuss with buyers what those buyers are looking for in terms of their next acquisition. And they will try to put businesses in front of them or suggest businesses that fit their criteria. So during this time, our sales advisors are working with you to get a deal across. They might negotiate terms. Oftentimes buyers will offer either a cash upfront deal or a combination of cash upfront plus an earnout, which is a percentage of the amount of the business paid over time, usually coming from the revenue that the business generates. So in that case, that will require some customization of the contract. So we do have our legal side that will help you to prepare that documentation. They will actually prepare the documentation for you so that you don't have to do that yourself. And we will negotiate the terms of what that cash percentage and earnout percentage actually looks like and ultimately help you get the deal across the finish line. Once the deal closes, then hand it over to our migration team, where the migration team then works with the seller and the buyer to help transfer the assets from the seller's side to the buyer's side. And once all of the assets are fully transferred over, there is a bit of a process in terms of just confirming, of course, like revenue and the buyer confirming that all of the assets are as they were advertised. So once all of that is confirmed, then the deal is officially closed, and then we'll be able to release the funds to you as the seller. And that's another point that I didn't bring up earlier, is when a buyer does pay for a business, they send us the cash to hold on to that. And I mention that because that's an often overlooked point of doing this, is having an escrow service, a neutral third party to hold onto the cash as kind of a security measure, both in the case of protection for the buyer, in the case of a seller not being forthcoming with certain details of the business that are then found out during due diligence, or for a buyer who tries to break the contract and tries to back out when the terms of the agreement holds them to actually following through on that acquisition valuation. So having a neutral third party to hold on to the cash is crucial, whether or not you're going private or brokerage, but that is another thing that we do. Now, in addition to the escrow component, holding on to cash, if there is an earnout associated with the business, so it's common for maybe a 6 to 12 month earnout to just be paid over time, could even be longer. Now, what we do if it's a content site or a SaaS business, in most cases when there's an earnout, we will actually hold on to the domain, and also alongside you, after the deal is done, we'll work with you to make sure the rest of the earnout is paid out, and then we'll release the domain to the buyer once that complete earnout has been paid out. So as you can probably tell, there are several things going on in the background as far as what the brokerage actually does. It's of course calculating the valuation, organizing the assets to be ready for sale. It's listing it on the marketplace to the marketplace of buyers. It's helping with negotiations. It's putting together the legal contracts. It's helping to negotiate the terms, the financial payment terms of the business. And in our case at Empire Flippers, it's actually helping to transfer the assets from the seller to the buyer, and also acting as an escrow service, holding on to the cash and holding on to certain collateral that will be used as leverage to ensure that an earnout is paid out. So I say all of what's going on in the background because oftentimes people will think either I will be working with a brokerage and really it's just me saving time. You might think that if you go privately and you're willing to spend the time, that you're going to be saving therefore however much percentage on the commission for the sale. However, that's not the case because as you just heard, if you do sell privately, you're still going to need to organize the P&L. So either you're doing that yourself or working with somebody to actually value the business and organize your financials for you. You're going to need to hire a lawyer who's experienced in the M&A world, but specifically in the online business M&A world, so that you feel confident that you have a contract that's watertight in the case that a buyer decides to back out for any reason or they don't pay for a specific reason. You'll also need to hire a third-party escrow company to hold onto the cash to serve as leverage for you to make sure that you're paid for the business. You might also want to hire somebody to hold on to the domain name or have some form of collateral in the event that you do move forward with an earnout in a private deal. However, if you go through a private deal, I highly recommend that you only consider this if it is a 100% cash upfront offer, just because there are so many ways that over time, if the business doesn't make money, the buyer can just kind of fade away and not pay the remaining amount. So if you do go privately, the way that it's going to work is you're going to probably find buyers on, I don't know, social media pages, forums, Facebook groups I know are a thing. And one thing that you just need to make sure of is that you are working ideally with a reputable marketplace. There are a lot of buyers who just exist on these forums to get business ideas. And if you're exposing all of your business and your assets to somebody who doesn't actually intend to buy your business, then you're just making yourself more vulnerable to competition and you're wasting your time working with people who just didn't intend to buy. So the Empire Flippers marketplace actually does have a verification process. You have to verify your identity, but also verify your liquidity to just show your seriousness and your ability to purchase a business at that level. So anyways, you'll reach out on forums and see who is interested in buying your business. You will have to calculate the valuation yourself or come to an agreement with the buyer. Even though this sounds like common sense, I would highly recommend not just using the suggested valuation from the buyer themselves. Understandably, they're incentivized to offer the lowest price to you. And if you don't know how business valuations actually work, you might be tempted to just accept it because maybe it's a big number. Maybe you've never seen a 6-figure or even a 7-figure offer. But I highly recommend you at least get a third party to value the business. And in our case, we do actually have a free valuation calculator, so you can get a ballpark estimate, and I'll leave a link to that below. But you will want to get that third party valuation just so you know if the buyer is underselling you, but also so that you know if you are overvaluing your business, or if you're not at the level that you want to be at, that you know that you'll need to pull some levers to grow the business a little bit further if you want to actually reach a specific valuation and be able to justify that. So the pros of going through a private deal are that you won't be spending the commission that you would be when working with a brokerage, and that you might get the cash faster depending on what the agreement is between you and the buyer. But in my mind, that's really where the pros end, because going back to saving on commission, you're going to actually want to calculate how much are you actually saving by not going the brokerage route and then individually hiring the lawyer, the escrow service, a third-party valuation specialist, somebody to help you migrate the business if you don't have experience in that yourself. So I think as you're going through those calculations, you might actually have a lot of this experience and feel confident that you'll be able to do this yourself, thereby being able to save on that. But that's going to really come down to you as the individual and what your experience is in this space, and not just running this kind of online business, but actually selling this kind of business. Those are two completely different worlds. And you will have to do this concurrently alongside actually operating the business to make sure that it doesn't decline during the exit process. I've seen so many times when a seller will kind of get complacent with their business once they are nearing the exit phase. Even once a buyer agrees to buy the business, at least with Empire Flippers, there's an expectation that during the migration phase, you're gonna have to maintain a certain level of revenue. So the job of actually operating your business isn't done. So that's something to consider is, do you have the time, the bandwidth, the energy to be able to focus on the exit and on operating the business at the same time until the entire transaction is complete. So to spell it out, who is a private deal best for? So I would say the private deal is best for somebody who is experienced in the M&A space, who maybe has a specific background or skill set that allows them to save on those individual costs, who has a very simple business where the buyer is willing to pay cash up front and the transfer of the business itself is very simple. And also if you have access to a trusted marketplace, or maybe you even personally kind of know the buyer and you understand that they're not trying to scam you. So if you do decide that working with a brokerage is the right thing for you, as I mentioned before, not all brokerages are equal. Some brokerages offer different services, have different requirements for being listed, or sell different types of business models easier. So the first thing that you'll want to look at is the commission rate plus the services that are offered for that level of commission. Some brokerages might have a lower commission, but they might not have a migration service, for example. They might not actually help you at all with the transfer of the business, or they might not offer an escrow service and you might have to hire that separately, which of course is kind of like saying that's the commission plus a fixed cost of hiring other people. And then there's the marketplace itself. So on Empire Flippers, the businesses, you have to actually unlock them. You can see some general information about the business so that the buyer can determine if they're interested in that business. But in order to actually learn what the business is, then they have to unlock that. And only buyers who, again, have had their identity verified, their liquidity verified, can become a member of our marketplace. This is different for other brokerages who might just show everything about a business. You can go on right now and look at all of the businesses. And as I mentioned before, some brokerages are better at selling other business models than other sizes of business. There are some brokerages that are more specialized in selling smaller businesses that have lower requirements to be listed. Some businesses that are sold for like $1,000 or something around that range. So just know if you were selling a 7-figure business, for example, that you are probably better suited for a brokerage that also sells other 7-figure businesses. So that's a bit about what brokerages do, and hopefully that gives you some insight into how to make your decision. Now, if you do just want to stay in the loop on the M&A world and make sure that you're just up to date as you're building or growing your business, then I highly recommend you sign up for our free weekly newsletter. We talk about all things Amazon FBA, e-commerce, content sites in a very educational and entertaining way, and I will leave a link below. And if you are in the e-commerce space and you're interested in some trends that I've seen about e-commerce that you'll want to know going into 2024, then I highly recommend clicking on the video here. So that's all for now. Thanks for watching.